Hello and welcome to Life with Francy podcast, a place where you will find all kinds of conversations like mental health, self-care, self-love, trauma, hobbies, and more. With this podcast, I want to create a community where we support one another to get to the next level in personal life and business life. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Now, let's get this show started. On today's episode, I have the pleasure to talk to Heidy De La Cruz, who recently self published a poetry book. The poems dive deep into a dark period of her life, trying to get over a toxic relationship. She was dealing with the death of her mother, which I am so sorry for that, and overcoming all of that. She writes about mental health also. With her poetry book, she hopes it will connect with at least one person and provide hope if someone is going through a dark period in their life, that there is hope on the other side. Truly a powerful message, and I can't wait to dive into this conversation with Heidy. Welcome to my show. So tell us, what is life with Heidy De La Cruz?
Thank you so much for letting me come on your space, your platform, and speak with your audience. What is life with Heidy De La Cruz right now? Honestly, it's very busy. It's very busy just trying to promote this book, trying to book myself into podcasts. So today I'm actually doing two shows, which I'm excited about. So this one, and then I have another one, and yeah, just trying to get my book out there. I did book signing party, like a book launch party, and like all my friends and
Woo.
family were there, and just like the love and support was just so amazing. The energy was like so encouraging, and it was amazing. And so yeah, so just very busy season right now, just trying to get this book out there and be guests on podcast and connecting and networking with different women too. So I'm trying to like get the word out there in my town where I live. So I've been like going to like different networking events, meeting up with so many powerful women in business, and it's just been really great right now. Just just everything that's coming from just writing this book. Like, so I never like imagined me being right here, but I absolutely love it. Like, I just thank God every single day for this opportunity. Honestly.
That is so awesome. And then poetry, like that is so hard.
Yeah, I mean, I started poetry when I was young, right? But I wouldn't share with anybody. And one of my friends from middle school, I had a notebook, right, with all my poems. And for some reason, I felt comfortable sharing with her. Because I feel like poetry is very personal, right?
Yep.
So it's like it's hard to like, share with people. So I shared it with her, and she was the first person that was like, "Heidi, these are really good." And I didn't believe it, because you're right or whatever, but like it's like, it's just like for you. But when she read it, she was like, "Oh my gosh, these are really, really good." But and it wasn't until, when was it, 2017, 2018, that I actually started sharing my poetry to on social media. So like I created a Instagram specifically for my poetry, and then I started sharing it on my blog. So I was blogging since 2014, but it wasn't until like 2018, yeah, that I like started to actually like had the courage to share. And so, once I started sharing, I was getting good feedback from people. And so from there, I was like, you know what? Maybe I could do a poetry book. And but the poems in this particular book is like, you mentioned in the intro, is the poems that I wrote while I was trying to get over a toxic relationship with my daughter's dad, and then also with dealing with the death of my mother. And then so like poetry and writing these things like really helped me, like, get my feelings out, trying to like, just get it all out of my system. And then so after I was able to leave the relationship, I also decided to go to therapy just to unpack and deal with everything, because everything happened like back to back. So the poems, yeah, so it was just like all through the journey, right? So it was like it starts off dark, and then it goes through the healing process. And then there's one particular chapter that is about my mother, because before she passed, she got diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So it was like, okay, a lot of things make sense, because her and I had a very, I don't want to say love and hate relationship, but it wasn't like the whole motherly daughter relationship that you expect a mother and a daughter to have, right? And so since I studied psychology, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. When my therapist, or when I found out that she got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I was like, okay, this all makes sense. Her ups and downs, her just her outburst. She was also alcoholic, so her drinking a lot and a lot of like her behaviors. It all stemmed from her bipolar disorder, but not knowing that you have that and not being treated, it's really hard. And so I remember my therapist specifically telling me that, people who are bipolar, they have a hard time having relationships with people, all types of relationship, right? So like they can't have a relationship with their mother, they won't have like a good relationship with, their kids, their friends or partners. And I was like, that makes sense because my mom never could hold a friendship, like she would have like people like in and out of her life, but then like something always happened. And she had a rocky relationship with her mother, and then her and I had a rocky relationship. So I was like, oh my gosh, like all of this makes sense. So there's a specific chapter, dedicated just to her. And then the last chapter is like the rainbow, so it's like the storm after the rainbow after the storm. So like you go through all these hardships, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So when I announced that I published this book, I felt so nervous. Like I started shaking because it's like, okay, it's out there. I was so vulnerable. And like people are really gonna see like what I went through and like pretty much like the inside of my soul, you're like
Yeah.
pouring your heart out to the people. And yeah, so I got really nervous and I was like, you know what? Like, okay, this is it. Like, I can't take it back. It's out there. But honestly, the feedback that I've received from the book have been amazing and it has made me feel like it's all worth it, right? So like I said, like I wanted it to connect to one person and it's already done that. Like people have reached out and told me like I can feel the emotions that you're writing. I can feel like I'm going through like while they're reading the book, they're like, I feel like I'm going through everything with you. And some people, who have known me like during the time, they told me like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know like what you were going through at the time. I'm sorry for not being there. But it's like I had God, like I had God during that period and he got me through it. So it's like now I just reflect back and think like, God, this is why I went through what I went through, to share my story and try to help others and connect with others. So yeah, it's just been amazing to see God working in all this and just being on the other side of it and be able to look back and reflect. And it's like, wow, like I overcame a lot, and thank God, like now I'm able to, like I did the work, I did the therapy, and now I'm able to share. Although I do believe that healing is like a lifetime journey, but yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. And oh my gosh, I can relate so much. It's
Mm,
not even funny. As we spoke before the episode, before I hit record, you are from Dominican Republic. I'm from Puerto Rico, so that right there, Hispanic. We don't
mm-hmm.
talk about mental health.
Nope.
Our parents' generation, like I just triggered my mom because I got a mental health evaluation. And she was like,
Mm,
ooh, I probably got a few of those. I said, no, mom, you got them all and some more.
yeah.
And she's like, I'm not doing meds and this, and that. I said, whoa, 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 calm down, woman. Ain't
Yeah.
nobody talking about you. I'm talking about me and
Me.
what is good
Mhm.
for me.
Yeah.
So my heart breaks for your mom
Mm.
because of the struggles, and especially with the alcohol. I had my grandma and two uncles that their liver gave out
Mm.
around 50s
Oh wow. Young.
because
Young, young.
super young.
Yeah.
But my grandma, I say it's not funny, but I said that my grandma has a right to be an alcoholic because she was pregnant for 2 decades. She had 11
Like
kids
back to back to back.
and
Yeah.
an abusive husband. She had a right
Oh
to be an
no.
alcoholic. But then my uncles, I was like, really? Like you didn't learn what it
Yeah.
does to your liver, and
Yeah.
but they didn't want to deal with their mental health struggles.
Yeah.
My diagnosis, My supervisor just told me, can you tell me what you didn't get diagnosed with? Because I have it all. My brain was like, oh, yeah, took in severe depression,
Mm,
moderate to severe anxiety,
mm,
PTSD because of trauma,
yeah.
ADHD, codependency disorder. I built a new category for anger
Oh,
and
wow.
bipolar.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. So people who tell me that they are diagnosed with bipolar, like I empathize with them and like I feel like close to like it hits me hard, right? Because
Yeah.
of my mom.
Yes.
But and then when I went to therapy, actually my therapist told me, I'm surprised that you only have depression and anxiety. You know, she was like, from everything that you went through, I'm actually surprised that you are, not don't have more. But then like now that you share your diagnosis, it's like, wow, like, there's a lot out there,
Oh, yeah.
And
And I
man,
have to
like
have them all.
man, in the Hispanic community, like we go through so much trauma, so much sweeping under the rug, so much we don't talk about that. And it's like that's all toxic. It's all trauma. It's all like I don't even know. Like it's a
Oh, yeah.
lot and we don't deal with it. We don't talk about it and it's not healthy at all. And I really, really want to break that cycle within my family because that's all I can do. Like I can't,
Yep.
tell my grandma to go to therapy. I can't force, like I can't force them, like I'll tell her, like, grandma, you need therapy. But it's like I can't force her, So what I can do is make sure that I'm taken care of and that I heal and to make sure that I'm doing better for my daughter. Like I want to give her a childhood that she doesn't have to recover from because I have to recover from my childhood
Yeah.
from not being protected, for not being nurtured, for not being guided in the correct way, Like we don't realize how much our childhood affects us until we
Mhm.
actually do the work because I didn't know until I went to therapy that my anxiety stemmed from not feeling safe with my mom. And
Mhm.
that's what the therapist told me. She explained to me that like your mother, as the person who gave you life, your mother is supposed to, provide a safe, nurturing environment. And unfortunately, because of my mom's bipolar disorder, she and not knowing, she couldn't. Like I felt unsafe with my mom because, with alcoholism, she drove drunk a lot of times, and it's like I was in that car terrified for my life, and that's not a situation that your mother's supposed to put you in, right? She's supposed to protect you. And I've forgiven my mother. I
Mhm.
I don't blame her for anything. And I understand, but it's like it's still stuff that I have to heal from, and
Oh,
yeah.
sweetie, I call my mom almost perfect, but that almost is in caps.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love her to death, but she lost
Mm-hmm.
her mom. That's why my heart breaks for you because she lost her mom in her early 20s and she's the
Mm.
baby of 11 kids.
Okay.
So like they got to have mom. My mom didn't. And
Didn't.
she
Yeah.
had a 4-year-old daughter, divorced, remarried, and she loses her mom. Like
Yeah.
she was going through a lot in her early 20s. And then having me as a daughter, that's just a bonus, cherry on top with a New Yorican, somebody that was raised in New York,
Yeah.
but just had no business in being in the island, comes to the island, meets my mom, gets my mom out of the island, and had to make me, bunch of chaos. My mom goes back to Puerto Rico, because she wanted me to be raised with the family.
Mhm.
Well, that bit her in the ass pretty much because it backfire. That's what I meant. Excuse my
Mm.
language.
You're sure, girl.
So, so you're dealing with childhood trauma,
Mm-hmm.
generational trauma,
Yup.
and the cherry on top, cultural trauma.
Yeah.
That we can go on forever and ever.
Yup. We
But
sure
I'm
can.
so glad that you have that form of art and poetry to
Mhm.
get that out, your
Yeah.
story out, and heal through the process. I'm still healing through mine,
Yeah.
and I haven't shared my story yet. So you're brave, and I
Oh, thank you.
admire you, for being out there and going on podcasts to tell about your story and everything.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I mentioned, like healing is a lifelong journey because the trauma that also I went through with my daughter's father, the mental abuse, the emotional abuse, and just like feeling so insecure in a relationship that causes anxiety. Phew. And just the whole cheating and everything. I when was it? It was like, I think like 2 years ago or so, or like a year and a half ago. So like I had a nightmare like about that, about like me going through his phone again, finding messages, and like just feeling, all those feelings, right? And so I texted my therapist and I was like, why am I still having dreams about this? Like I'm remarried, like I'm in a healthy relationship, So it's like I don't think about this man anymore. Like why am I still having dreams about this? And then she is like, "Well, your body stores trauma and things will trigger you. So you're always going to have triggers cuz it's just you just learn how to deal with the triggers when you are triggered, So she was like, your body stores trauma, so if something triggers it, then your subconscious mind will, bring it up. So that's what happened. And I was like, Jesus, like I just, it's just something that I guess I just will always just have to deal with moving forward. But like, just recognizing your triggers, what triggers you, and just learning how to cope with it is what will help you move forward.
Yes, I'm looking around because I have the book, The Body Keeps Score. I do not
Mm.
who the author is,
Okay.
but that one is a good one to explain. Excuse me, to explain more of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because the trigger, your body will feel every vibration like
Yep.
you are there. For me, it was explained as somebody that goes to the army.
Mm-hmm.
They go to war
Mm-hmm.
and they do what they have to do. Now they come back and they're questioning themselves as if I'm that person that had to do what to do to survive,
Yeah.
or am I this civilian now with a good heart and everything else?
Yeah.
So for me, it was as simple as one time a watch. My boyfriend wore a watch and it put me back to my biological father.
Mm.
I never had something simple as a watch trigger
Yeah.
me. And I was like, wow, but I worked through my triggers.
Mhm.
I love the challenge. So I'm
Okay.
like, ooh, I found a new trigger. Now let's go back and do the work and
Yeah.
all everything else. My friend, my work wife is always like, oh my gosh, there goes another child, it's inner child work and stuff like that. She hates it because I trigger her.
Yeah. Oh man.
But yeah, a trigger for me is like, because I had my first panic attack
Mm.
6 or 7 years ago. My
Mm-hmm.
biological father showed up at my work,
Ooh.
and yeah, having your boogeyman just showed up. Oh, girl, that was a good time.
Oh
Um,
man.
all I was screaming was, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, because it went, we made eye contact, and that was it. I lost my
Yeah.
shit. So they
Mm-hmm.
took me aside and whatever. And then once I learned what a panic attack was, I was like, oh, heck to the no. I have to do all the work. So now I have places where I have anxiety. I don't have a panic attack. I will just
Mm.
feel myself in the danger zone, like as I
Yeah.
call it. And then it's like, okay, it's time to give myself compassion, give
Okay.
myself grace, and let's see, breathe. Let's see, I have a podcast episode of my anxiety survival kit.
Okay.
And it's like five things: breathing, walking, dancing if you can. Like I know that you're in the danger zone. You're like, oh yeah, let me have a dance
Let me go
party. And
dance.
yeah. but it's like things that I know mentally that when I'm not logically
Hmm.
here, I can be like, okay, breathe. That's the first thing. Walk it off. Ask for help. I have my friends that is like, oh, even that doesn't work. Facebook. Hey, we're prayer warriors. I need you right
Yes.
now. Pray for my mental health because I can't do it. I know that I'm okay, but my brain is telling me I'm not okay.
Yep. Hmm.
So it's so much in
Oh
between
yeah.
all that.
No, and it's crazy how you said just a simple watch, can bring back memories. There are certain songs that I can't listen to because you just go right back to that place, and the emotions are there and things like that. And so like I avoid, certain songs just because it just brings me back to certain memories in my childhood that is like I don't want to relive that. And yeah, like sometimes, like, and you know how your mind wanders, like you start talking, they're thinking about one thing and then you lead to another and to another, and then all of a sudden you're like back in this like place, like this like childhood memory, or like back to this like bad memory, and it's like, how did I even get here? Like, why am I thinking about this kind of thing? So I tend to do that sometimes, and it's like, no, like happy thoughts, like, no, let's not go down that rabbit hole. Let's just focus on what I'm doing. Cause yeah, like any little thing can trigger you, and it's like a certain sense, like certain smell or anything like that. And it's crazy how our body like reacts and remembers.
Hmm. Yeah. So let's take a segue to talk about your podcast.
All right. So, my podcast is The American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants. And I bring immigrants on, and they share their journey about coming to the United States, adapting to living in a new country, new culture, new language, and cultural shocks that they experience. And the reason why I started this podcast is, my parents are immigrants from the Dominican Republic. So it's a subject that's very close to home. And I want to try to change the narrative that there is about immigration. I want it to be a more compassionate and empathetic way of viewing immigration. And I thought, like, what best way to do this than by sharing people's stories? Because if you actually listen to their stories, listen to the struggles, the reason why they came here, you can connect with people more, right? You can be more empathetic and compassionate and just open your mind and understand more. And the people that I have had on have had incredible stories. Obviously some heartbreaking stories, because sometimes it's not a very welcoming welcome, that like a very, open arms welcome that they've had. Like, had to deal with struggles with the racism, with just many different things. So I've had people from, I'm trying to get, obviously from all over the world. So I've had people from Venezuela, from obviously Dominican Republic. So I have family members that have shared
Nice.
Mexico, Colombia. I have someone scheduled from Brazil. And I just recently did one from Pakistan, which was, I mean, that her story really, really struck me. And a lot of them, have their own businesses, so I give them the opportunity to share their business, what service they provide. And I love that because, there's the whole, oh, they're coming to steal our jobs crap. So it's like all these people have their own businesses, and what does that do? That gives back to our economy, that creates jobs. It's like these people are working for themselves. They're not taking other people's jobs. And a lot of immigrants that come are professionals, like they had a high skill paying job in their country, but then they come here and they have to work as janitors, they have to work, as low skill jobs, because it's not the same, right? And then, for example, like I know there's a lot of doctors from other countries who work here as either medical assistants, or I believe nurse too. So like because like in order to be a doctor here, from when you're from a different country, like there's like three different tests that you have to take, and you have to like do pretty much like the residency like all over. It's a lot, and it's also expensive. So it's really hard work. So yeah, so my podcast like is just my target audience obviously is non-immigrants, but I feel like the majority of people who listen are immigrants. So I really ask people to share, like once they're on the episode, like to share on their platform, share with their friends or family. When I checked my stats, it's been listened to in 14 different countries, which was like really cool. Yeah, like I had not expected that at all. And it's been like generating listen, like it's been like ongoing, and it's really cool to like see the like your numbers,
Oh
because
yeah.
yeah, like looking at it and it was like, oh my gosh, people are listening. And yeah, so it's like really humbling, and it's very exciting. And honestly, like after I listen to these stories, I'm just like, wow, God, like you really, like, I don't know, he like really just put this in my heart, and I just love connecting with people. I love listening to people's stories just cuz we all have a story, right? And I feel like everyone's story matters. So just being able to have this platform for people to share their immigration story is like really, really humbling, really amazing. And they all thank me for letting me, or yeah, for letting them share their story. Like every single one is like, no, Heidi, thank you for this platform, for this safe space to share our stories. And I'm like, thank you for being vulnerable and honest. And yeah, so it's really amazing. Honestly, like I absolutely love doing podcasting and interviewing people. Like I'm hoping that it can, be big, like maybe a production or something. But yeah, like I hope it reaches, as much people as it can, because these stories really, really matter.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to listen to it. It sounds amazing because yeah, I love that to change the perspective.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can see how your audience is more immigrants
Hmm.
because we look for that cultural, and even yeah, Pakistan, it doesn't matter where you come from, you can relate off I was over here, I was having a life, and then as a child came over here.
Hmm.
So now you have to learn a different language,
Yes.
a different culture.
Yep.
Now you don't feel at home here,
No.
but you can't go back and feel at home either. When
Yep.
I go back at home, I'm a gringa, a white girl.
Girl, yes. Oh, I have two sisters scheduled, and they are childs of immigrants. So like me, right? So they were
Yeah.
born here, but their parents were immigrants. So they're going to talk about the struggles of being a child of an immigrant, because it's a whole different story for us. Like you're too Dominican for your American friends, and then you're too American for your Dominican
Well,
family. And
over
it's
here
like,
I'm a Mexican. So
oh,
over there
yeah,
I'm a white girl. In Puerto
yeah,
Rico I'm a gringa, and over here I'm a Mexican.
yeah.
So I just took it in, and
Like whatever.
I accept it.
Yep, I hear
Because
you.
over there I can't relate to the culture anymore. You
Mhm.
know, I got out because I had troubles with the culture. I love it. Puerto Ricans are the sweetest, most partying people. I mean, they make a party even for the dolls.
Everything.
Okay, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if a baby has a doll and she has a birthday. We're celebrating the
Yeah.
Barbie doll's birthday.
Yes.
So it's like awesome and everything, but it's so busy,
Mhm.
and they don't want to deal with the trauma. They creating more drama. I just
Mhm.
so I'm in a mastermind group,
Mhm.
and she's married to a Salvadorian, and she's like, I don't want drama. I said, oh sweetie, you married the wrong race. We create the trauma and we're proud of the trauma. We're like, yeah, we did that. Because she was trying to do a healthy co-parenting. I
Yeah.
said, "Oh no, sweetie, we don't do that in the Hispanic culture. There's
I
not such a
know.
thing about that's a white people thing. I mean, I don't want to be like too out there, but I was like, yeah, we don't do that. So it was nice to for her to see my perspective,
Yeah.
sharing, because I'm not from El Salvador, but I'm from Puerto Rico, and
Yeah.
I know his family is looking at you crazy. I know that you're
Yeah.
looking at him like he's the crazy one, but in this scenario, you're the crazy one.
Yep, yep.
So I love that. And then knowing other cultures, I have been talking
Oh
to a lot of
yeah.
people from the UK
Oh
because of my
really?
podcast. So I
Nice.
love that.
I do love listening about the different cultures and learning about the different cultures. And actually there and then like there's a lot of similarities, right, between the Dominican and whatever culture that the guest is from. And it's like we can relate on that because it's different here in the United States. Like for example, we're very big on respecting our elders, right? And same thing, like I had a guest from India and she, she had mentioned that. And I was like, oh my gosh, us too, And we're very, I don't want to say well, yeah, religion, right? Like that's like that shapes a lot of the Hispanic culture. And then so she mentioned from India, like everybody believes, it's very spiritual, right? So it's like, so it's just crazy. And then the lady from Pakistan, she was talking about like the food, like when she went back, like the food is just like, completely different than what it is here in the United States. And then she was mentioning like the sodas. And then it just brought me back to the Dominican Republic. It's like, oh my gosh, the Coca-Cola over there is just so different from
Oh
the
my
one
God, it's
here.
so good.
Yes, I was like, yeah, I was like, I can relate because it's so good. And I told her, I was like, every time my dad goes to the Dominican Republic, I'd be telling him like, you got to bring me some Coca Cola because it's just so different. So it's just so amazing also to just learn about different cultures and trying to like see from their perspective, like leaving that country, coming here, and things like that. But then like you also see it with our families, like trying to navigate this system here in the United States, trying to learn and trying to keep your own culture, but then also like embracing the culture here. Because I the one specifically from Pakistan, she told me, like her grandma was very like, we're gonna continue wearing our traditional clothes, we're gonna, continue like our, their customs. And I asked her, I was like, how do you feel about that looking back, like now that you're an adult? And she was like, when I was a kid, I hated her for it because you like want to like blend in instead of stand out, right? And then she's like, but now that I'm an adult, like I appreciate her so much for forcing me to continue to speak their language so she wouldn't lose it. And then like now she like she still wears her traditional clothes even if people do stare at her, but she's still comfortable and confident in who she is, right? And still in their culture. And that's a good thing about the United States. Like there's so many different cultures, so many different people, and you can learn so much. Like there's a whole world out there, people. Like go travel, go learn about different cultures, go see the world because it really, really changes your perspective on a lot of things.
Yeah, it really does. Just going to a different state.
No,
You're like,
yeah.
oh my God, are we in a different country?
I know. And a lot of people here, like a lot of Americans born here, like they don't even leave their state. Like the percentage is really high of people who just like don't travel. And it's like, no guys, come on, get out there, expand your mind. It's crazy.
Yeah, for me, because I moved here when I was 15, knowing better than everybody, I got mad at my mom and at my family. So I was like, hey, stranger, to my biological father, do you think you want to race me now? And that didn't work out so well, but I mean, I'm still here. After that, I miss my mom, her rules, because she was overprotective. I'm an only child from my mom's side, and
Okay.
I have a half brother from my biological side. And so my mom had me in this tiny box where I barely could walk because I was going to get
Mm.
hurt. I
Oh
was
yeah,
her baby.
yeah,
So, and then coming here and doing everything, I was able to graduate high school the year that I was supposed to in a different language in a different country.
yeah. Look at that.
But I have seen like a bunch of states, and then when it comes to vacations, I want to do other countries. But another thing about being Hispanic and being an immigrant or whatever is that you have to go back home to see your family. So that's my vacation money.
Yeah.
My
Go
vacation
back home.
money is to go to Puerto Rico and, um, you know, spend time with my family, because if not, I don't see them. And this is the first time that it's been 3 years without
Wow.
seeing my family.
Without going back.
Yeah, because I have my parents here for 2020, and I'm like, I love my family and my friends and everything, but if I have my parents, I'm like, okay, I'm not
You're
going over
good.
there for a minute.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so I'm trying to get my parents to come visit me more so I don't have to go there. I try to go every other year.
yeah.
But like now my mom just told me three of my cousins are in college. And
Mm.
I was like,
Time
what
flies, girl.
happened?
Yeah,
What happened? Those are my babies. One of them
yeah.
was the last baby that I held in Puerto Rico, and two
Oh,
of them were in their bellies when I left. So
yeah.
in their mom's bellies. So it's like time flies, and you have to think,
Mhm.
we have to think different from a person that has had everybody in their family and everything in the same state, in the same town, in the same neighborhood. You know,
Yeah,
we are just so different and we think different.
yeah, we do. That is so true.
We
Yeah.
have different needs.
It is like, oh man, like I just recently did a podcast episode 2 days ago and I was talking about the whole immigration process and but I was also talking about like when my grandfather passed in 2020 and like even the funeral arrangements for us is different. Like he passed here, but he had everything set up in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
So it's like we had to do the service here and then get his body over to the Dominican Republic and then do another service there. And so it was a lot. Like even that is different for us because here if your whole family is here, you don't gotta you just do the funeral service and it's just here and that's it, like you're done. But for us it was like double, like
It's
yeah.
trauma in itself,
Yeah, exactly. So it
because
was
we
just like
have
it
to
was a
deal
lot.
it with twice. And
Hmm.
and going back, I'm a citizen because I'm from Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico is part of the United States,
Yeah.
but it's pretty much the same. I say no matter where I die, I'm going back to the island. Like
You're going back to that,
I'm
yeah.
going
Yeah.
back
So
to the
it's just
island.
crazy. It's just completely different for us. Like you said, like we have to think differently and yeah.
Now that you say that, I'm sorry, it's gonna get weird. But like, how do you guys deal with grieving? Because my family is the type that they do a Facebook block.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, when a person dies, it's a Facebook block. We can't talk about that person. It was like that person never existed.
Well, I talked a lot about my grandfather and on social media. So honestly, like everybody grieves differently, and that's what people don't, especially in our culture, don't understand because they think that like you need to do this in order to grieve. Like I think it was my grandma had mentioned that like when her father died, she wore something black for a year. Like
Yes.
even if it was just her socks, she wore something black for a year. And yeah, so like she was like trying to like say like, oh, you can't do this because we're in grieving or we're in mourning, but it's like everybody grieves differently. And then when my grandfather passed, like there was a lot of people calling like to give their condolences and everything, and it's like we understood that, but in that moment nobody wanted to talk, right? But then my grandma was like on the phone with everybody trying to like force us to like talk to these people, and like my uncle had to tell her like, no, like I don't want to talk to anybody, like he just passed. So it was it was hard because again, like everybody grieves differently, but people think that we should be there's a certain way to grieve, and it's like, no, my way of grieving was sharing my grandfather's or my memories with my grandfather. So I did share on social media. I did, but I did take a social media break too because I just needed to,
Yeah.
yeah, just like it was just too much. But I don't know if it offended any of my family members. I don't know if like they felt some type of way because I was sharing. I don't care. It was my way of grieving him, my way of keeping his memory alive for me. And even to this day, like when his anniversary comes up, like I'll share pictures of us and things like that. So it's very hard again because people think that you have to grieve a certain way, but no, like you grieve your way and try to respect how other people grieve.
I just learned about grieving in my 30s. I
Mm,
didn't know that that's the thing that my family has been doing all this time.
mm,
Because after grandma died, they lost it. Then two cousins died One was a baby, so I didn't met him. And then another one, I was like 10 years old, but that one rocked the whole family because he was the angel of the family and he was
Mm.
just 18. I think he died a week after his 18th birthday. And that one, like, we really, the family went crazy because my uncle, like, went into depression and everything else. And then grandpa and all of the other death, I have been here, so I don't get to be with my family. So, like,
Mhm.
I'm crying and I feel it here, but the grieving really doesn't come till I go to Puerto Rico
Yeah,
and it hits me
it hits you.
the second I hit
Mhm.
the island and I don't see them. So, but because of my family with their unhealthy way of dealing with emotions, I didn't know what grieving was till, or that you can do it in a healthy kind of way,
Yeah, yeah.
because of a family member 2 years ago through COVID and everything. He had cancer, and a friend of mine, his dad passed away, and his wife was consoling me.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, of course you have to console the Latina, the drama queen. Like, oh my God, this is their, this is their husband, their
Yeah,
dad,
yeah,
and they're consoling the Latina that can't hold their emotions
yeah,
because he meant so much to me. But
yeah.
as I saw them um, doing a birthday party to celebrate him, they go to what is it? To cemetery.
Okay.
My family doesn't go to the cemetery. That's a
Mm.
no-no. So I was like, oh my gosh, you can do that. So see them going through the grieving process, like, healed me
Yeah.
to now moving forward. So I'm sorry I didn't want to turn it into
No, no,
grieving or
no.
whatever, but once
You're
we
fine.
mentioned it, it was like, oh my God, I go crazy because of how crazy my family is.
No, it's okay because I talk about well, I write about in my blog about grieving a lot of times because of the death of my mom, the death of my grandfather, and then 7 months later my husband lost his mom, so my mother-in-law passed, and then during the period between my grandfather's death and my mother-in-law's death, I had a miscarriage. So that's another grief. So I know I talk about grief to help others again, sharing my story because obviously I learned about grief at the age of 23 because that's when my mom passed, and it was just like I had to learn myself because everyone around me had their mother. I was like the only one. My grandma was still alive, so my dad had his mom. My stepmom still has her mom. So like I was the only one who had lost her mom at that moment. So no one could understand the pain and the void that I had. But then once my grandfather passed, like it's different because it's not your mom, but it's still a loss, like a hard loss, because the whole family was close to him. He lived with us when he started living with us when I was 15 or 16, right? So he had been in my life for years, and he had been for a lot of milestones, like he was there for my graduation. He was there. I took my driving test in his car, so he was a very, very a big part of my life. So like when he passed, it was like it hurt, like it still hurts. But yeah, so no, like I definitely talk about grieving just because unless you lose someone special, like you don't know what it's like. And it's different for everyone too. And sometimes, people try to find the right words to say when you're grieving. And it's like sometimes we don't need you to say anything. Sometimes we just need you to listen. Sometimes we just need you to give us a hug. Like if you don't know what to say when someone's grieving, don't say anything, just say, I'm here, or ask them, what do you need from me? How can I help you in this moment, right? Because sometimes when you try to say something or be helpful, sometimes what you say is not, it's not, it's worse, so if someone is grieving, just let them grieve the way that they need to grieve. Ask them what they need from you in that moment. Again, sometimes it's just being a listening ear, sometimes it's just a hug, sometimes just letting them know, I'm thinking about you, I'm here for you. Because everybody grieves differently. It's different for everybody. And once you lose a loved one, it's like I feel like, we grieve, for life. It's like it doesn't get easier. We just learn how to live with it, live with the void, live with the pain. And, there's certain song, like my grandfather was a big fan of ABBA, from the 70s, the band. So sometimes I can listen to the music and sometimes I can't because it just brings me back to my grandfather, and yeah. So I don't know. It's okay, girl. Like, grieving is something that I do talk about.
Nice, yeah. And you have lost a lot of people close to you. Like, wow, girl. And you still keep that beautiful smile
Oh,
for people that can't see you.
like, I mean, honestly, is God is my strength. I'm very very big on my faith, and He really got me in, through that grieving season. I'm actually writing an article about the grieving season because I'm gonna submit it to a publication. Hopefully, it gets picked up. But it's just about that. It's just about like how God really was my rock during when my grandfather passed, the miscarriage, and my mother-in-law, because I was very very intentional to continue reading the Bible every day and doing Bible studies, because when you're in the season of grief, you don't want to do anything. It's draining to do anything, because you're so down, you feel so heavy. But I was like, I am going to be intentional on still reading the word, still seeking God. Especially with the miscarriage, I was listening to worship music a lot, which, made me cry, but it like gave me hope. It's like, okay, and thank God I have my rainbow baby. I have my son who was born in December of last year, so he's almost one. But no, like being very big on my faith and being very rooted in God's word really, really helped me. So yeah, that's how I can keep a smile on my face when I talk about it. It's all God's doing, honestly.
Yeah. I love that you say that, because God is amazing.
Amen.
And people don't get it that he nowhere it said that he was going to save you from everything and anything.
Yes.
Some things are self-inflicted,
Yep.
some things are because evil exists in the world
Yes.
and we
Yes, it
can't
does.
help it. But
Hmm.
he did promise he was going to be there by our sides if we call his attention.
Yeah.
Ask and you should receive.
Yeah.
And people forget that. And yeah, I have gone through hell and back. I had my season that I was angry at God,
Yep.
because that's okay
Yep.
too. I don't recommend it, but that's okay too.
It happens. It happens. It's like, and people think that, like, oh, because we are believers, that our life is easy or it should be easy. No, like you said, like he did not promise that our life was going to be easy, but he said that he will be there with us during those challenging times. And honestly, like my faith has is what really helped me through those challenging times that I've been through. Like all that I've talked about has happened in my 20s. I'm not 30. I am 29 years old.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So, like, again, when I was telling my therapist about everything that I went through, she was like, you have been through in your life what people go through in their lifetime. And that's why she said, like, I'm surprised. It's just depression and anxiety that you've been dealing with. But honestly, man, like, it's all God's doing. It's,
Yeah, God's grace.
yes.
And all I can say, my 20s were different. Mine were self-inflicted trauma and things like that. But now in my 30s, girl, let me give you hope.
Yeah. I'm so excited for my 30s. Like, I'm so
I am
excited.
34 and I'm rocking this grown-up thing, okay?
Yeah. Now you feel like a grown up. It's like, when do we feel like a grown up? Like, I remember
I have
what
no
was
freaking
it,
idea, but I
25?
have.
I remember being 25, and me and my friend, who, like, we literally like grew up together. We were like, man, we're 25, but we don't feel like a grown up yet. I was like, I know, like I have a whole kid to take care of. Like, how am I doing this? How am
Yeah,
I surviving life right now?
I know, and that's why I have the Life with Francy podcast, because it's
Oh,
pretty much like a guide for adulting. Like,
yeah.
like I'm here doing all kinds of things that people are like, "Are you even a grown up?" I'm like, I don't know. I Google it, and Google can't
No?
tell me if I'm a grown up yet.
Yeah.
but as a male lady, I have customers of all ages, and I can
Yeah.
tell you, I have people in their 80s that don't want to be there a grown up.
Oh, girl, no,
So
growing up is not
that's me. That's me.
growing.
Just
What
enjoy
did they
life.
say that the adulthood is like the ghettoest hood you can be? Like, nobody want to be here.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love our conversation. And I
Me
told you I
too.
had to have all the alarms going off because we were going to be here for like 2 or 3 hours. We talk about your book, we talk about the podcast. Is there anything else that you would like to plug in?
No, I think we covered a lot. I mean, people can follow me. I do like from the extension of my writing, like I sell journals and things like that. But
Hold up, what? Girl, now you just added another hour. I'm just kidding. But
um,
I'm the queen of journaling. So
no
what's up? What's
way. Oh,
happening?
yes. I journal everything. I journal everything, girl. Everything. My poems, my thoughts, my prayers. I'm really big on journaling my prayers, my goals, because I love reflecting back on what, like, I set goals, I set yearly goals, and I love reflecting back on the goals that I achieved, and then if I didn't, what happened, right? Because sometimes you set one goal but something better happens, right? So yeah, no, I journal everything. And so in Amazon I have three journals. I have one that's my prayer journal, so people can journal their prayers. The other one is for gratitude, just to help people see the positive, right? Like, what are you thankful for? Because that changes so much. Like, if you're starting your day bad and you realize like one thing bad happens and then another thing, like, and you stay in this mood, like you bring that energy, right? That negative energy, and it's like a snowball effect. But if you stop and reflect, and it's like, no, okay, my day started off like this, but I'm going to intentionally change my mindset. Think of like three things that you're grateful for. It changes your mood. It changes to positive, right? And so you can attract that positivity. And then my third journal is called Into My Thoughts, which is like an extension of my blog. So that's more for creatives. So it's like for you to, like, if you have a project going on, so you can like organize it, and so like a space for you to just be creative. There's a space for you to take notes, and then for do a daily affirmations, because I think that's so important. And then yeah, so just writing down your projects. And then I have three notebooks that I designed on Etsy, and one of them is Your Words Matter. So it's like for anybody who like creative, right? For anybody who like writes songs or poetry, or want to write a book, just want to get their words out. I specifically designed it as Your Words Matter because, again, I feel like people's stories matter. So however way, what medium you want to use to get your story out there, your words out there, I always start with writing. So the other one that I have is a my favorite Bible verse is Hebrews 6:19. We have this hope as an anchor for our soul. So that there's a notebook with that Bible verse on there. And then there's another notebook that says you are loved. So it's kind of like a little reminder, that you are loved. God loves you. You have people around you that loves you. I love you, even though, like, you're just trying to spread that love and positivity. So yeah, I'm very, very big on journaling, which so I create journals, try to help people like get into journaling. So like on my blog, if you sign up for my newsletter, I send you 30 journaling prompts, so you could do like one question a day to, like, get people into journaling. So, and there's just so much benefits with journaling. Like, it helps with your mental health. It can help organize your thoughts, your feelings. There's just so much on journaling itself that,
Oh my God,
yeah.
yes, I love it. I carry a book bag with me.
Hmm.
And in that book bag, I have four notebooks around this size.
Yes,
And
that's the size of the notebooks. Hmm.
really, girl,
Yeah.
I'm going shopping after this podcast. And then I'm huge on planners that I turn
Hmm.
into journals.
Yep.
And right now, I got me a plum planner, and oh my gosh, it has to say, I'm gonna go dork over here. Happy planner dashboard. So I have like the vision board
Mhm.
for the week on one page, and then what actually happened on
Okay,
the
yeah.
other page, so I can see the week because I'm a visual person.
Yep. Mhm.
But then when it comes to journals, I have notebook for prayer, I have notebook for gratitude, everything that you had. But that's amazing that you have your own products.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
girl, you are just amazing. I
Thank
love
you.
you.
I just try to share what helps me, and the reason, so yeah, so it can help others. Because a lot of people tell me like, oh, I don't know how to journal, or I don't know, I don't have the time. But it's like, start with 3 minutes. That's it. Just 3 minutes, answer one question, and then it's like anything that you start, right? You start off small, and then you just get used to it, like exercising, right? Or just anything. You just start off small, and then as you go, you learn, and it's muscle memory and things like that. So again, like, I journal everything, like any single thought, or like even like if I want to write something, or if I get an idea of like an article to write or anything like that, like I write it down. And it's better to write it down, because then you're not going to remember later on, because your mind can store just so much information. So it's definitely helped get organized my life too, like, my to-do list. So like with the whole podcasting and the writing, like I need to get organized somehow. I write everything, so like you said, like the planner, write down a to-do list, write down just everything, just get it out of your brain, and put it in. The researchers have shown that like doing a brain dump is just like, five, you set a timer for 5 minutes, and then you just write whatever comes to mind, and then you can look at it and reflect, and it's like, okay, what do I want to do with this, or why did I think of this, and things like that. It just helps with your mental health too.
I love it. So I'm so glad that we found each other through Women in Podcasting. I forgot to
Yes.
give a shout out to the group, to Jennifer, because she's awesome and she's
Yeah.
creating a great community for podcaster to find guests, as well as just people that want to be on podcasts and
Yeah.
find places to be interviewing. So, but no, thank you so much. I have had the best time
Me
interviewing
too.
you. You are
I feel like I've
amazing.
gained a friend. Like, we
Yes,
have to stay
please.
connected. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So, when you said you was working on another book,
I right now I'm just focusing on this one, just promoting it, but I eventually want to do a series. So the book name is
okay,
Words of the Heart. I don't even think I mentioned the book's name.
that's
Oh my
helpful.
gosh. The poetry book is Words from the Heart, and I want to create like a series, right? So like, the first one was like about the whole trauma and everything, and I'm still writing poetry, I get inspired daily, like so I write down poetries. So yeah, so I want to do a series. Right now I'm just focusing on this one poetry book, and my therapist suggested for me to write a memoir. So I'm kind
Yeah,
of like, should I do it? Should I not, kind of thing. But for right now, it's been strictly poetry. So yeah.
I love it. But no, I was just gonna say, when you write something else, come back to the show
Oh
and
yes.
promote the heck out of it, because I would love to have
Yes.
you back.
Thank you so much for this. I've had a blast. I've had a blast.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for listening to another episode. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Hope you have a blessed day.